Dear students, this is Kuldeep Singh Gaur from Department of Zoology. Today I will be speaking on the group chordates. Until now, in your previous classes, you had studied non-chordates. From this year on, we'll be studying chordates. The chordate group was created by Balfour, a scientist. Chorda means string and eta means bearer. Those who bear a string or a rod-like structure were placed under chordates group. There are about 49,000 chordate species reported until now, and they have been divided into two groups. One is protostomia, another is deuterostomia. If you have some sense of developmental biology, you can easily unravel that when the blastopore and forms mouth, the animals such created are placed under protostomia. However, under deuterostomia, the blastopore end forms anus, and those animals whose anus is derived from blastopore, they are placed under deuterostomia. Now, some miscellaneous facts, interesting facts, not much of importance as far as your examinations are concerned. But I would like to tell you that the blue whale, which is Cordus Balænoptera musculus, is about 35 meters long and weighs 120 tons. It is the biggest known animal on this planet. Whale shark, another giant animal called as Rhiniodon typus. It is about 15 meters long and it is second biggest animal on this planet. Smallest fish is Philippines goby, also called as Pandaka. It is about 10 mm, the smallest chordate reported. Saltwater amphibians are unknown to us. That means no amphibia is there in the salt water or ocean waters. One important thing regarding chordates is that all of them, they are free living. None of them is parasite. Barring one cyclostomata, they are partially parasite. Otherwise, all of them, they live a free living life. Now, the most important is the fundamental chordate characters. That means what should be the basic characters which defines chordates. First of all the chordates, they have a dorsal, hollow or tubular nerve cord which is just placed above the notochord, and as you know, the nervous system is ectodermal. It also derives from ectodermal neural plate, and it encloses a cavity called as neurocele. No ganglionic enlargements are visible, and anterior region forms cerebral vesicles or brains. Another most striking feature of chordates is presence of notochord, which is a rod-like structure originates from the endodermal roof of embryonic archenteron, and its cells are vacuolated. This is called as notochord. It is also called as chorda dorsalis. It is invariably present in the chordates in some or the other parts of life. Third one and the striking most important feature is pharyngeal gill slits. They are also present in some or the other parts of life and are perforations for gills. They are functional throughout life in protochordates, but in higher chordates, they may not be present in the post-embryonic life. Then they have ventral heart And hemoglobin in corpuscles also have post-anal tail, and limbs are not more than two, and they may have hepatic portal systems. These are some of the miscellaneous characters, but the three basic and fundamental chordate characters were the presence of notochord and dorsal holotubular nervous system, dorsal nervous system, and it is tubular or hollow. Okay, and pharyngeal gill slits. These are the basic characters. Now that the general characters, as I have told you, they have ventral heart, hemoglobin in corpuscles, and limbs not more than two, and have hepatic portal system. Apart from them, they have coelom also, as they are placed under coelomate. And two coelom, as you know, is the cavity between body wall and digestive tract, lined by all sides with mesoderm. Cytocoelous coelom, if you go to the developmental biology, it is formed by splitting of mesodermal bands and is present in higher chordates, whereas enterocoelous coelom is formed by fusion and expansion of linear hollow outpushings of archenteron or embryonic endoderm, which later coalesces to form larger pocket. Such animals having enterocoelous coelom are echinodermates, brachiopods, and branchiostoma. The chordates, they also show certain metamerism in form of scales in fishes and muscles and vertebrae in human beings. Chordates have very efficient respiratory system, very efficient circulatory system, and a highly centralized nervous system. These are some of the characters of chordates. Now you can see the general body plan of chordates. This is the mouth. This is the mouth from where water enters and leaves out through these gill slits. These after this, the digestive tube and anus. But the water which is taken inside from mouth exits out through the pharyngeal gill slits, bathing the gills, and therefore oxygenating the body. Just above the digestive system or digestive alimentary canal, you come across the basic and fundamental chordate character, which is notochord, endodermal in origin, and it has vacuolated cells, and just above the dorsal hollow nerve cord is present. You can see this is neurocele. This is neurocele. That means the cavity of the nerve cord or nervous system. This notochord may or may not persist in the adults or post-embryonic life. As for instance, human beings, we don't have notochord in adult life, but we certainly had notochord when we were in the embryonic stage. But cephalochordates, urochordates, and the chondrichthyes fishes, they have persistent notochord even in their adult life. Now we should compare, as we are migrating our study from non-chordates to chordates, we must have some sense of the difference between chordates and non-chordates. The first feature is, you can see in the slide, is the symmetry. Mostly the chordates, they have bilateral symmetry, whereas we had studied in non-chordates which have radial, biradial, bilateral symmetry, and they may also not have any kind of symmetry, or the symmetry is lacking altogether in them. But chordates, all of them, they are bilaterally symmetric. Second feature is metamerism. Chordates have true metamerism. In true metamerism, the oldest segment is just behind the head, whereas in pseudo metamerism, the oldest segment is away from the head region. That means the new segments are formed anteriorly, whereas in true metamerism, the new segments are formed posteriorly. Post-anal tail is the feature of chordates only, which is altogether lacking in non-chordates. Chordates, all of them, they have organ system of grade of body organization, whereas in non-chordates we had studied protoplasmic to organ system. Protoplasmic level of body organization existed in protozoa, and to porifera we had cellular organization, thereafter organ level of organization, and from Msc elemencies and these annelids we had seen that they had organ system of body organization. All the three germ layers were present, that's why all the chordates, they are triploblastic, whereas non-chordates we had seen that some of them they were diploblastic and some were triploblastic. From platyhelminthes they were pseudocoelomates. Msc helminthes, they are pseudocoelomates. Platyhelminthes were acoelomates, and from annelida onwards we had coelomates. Limb were derived in chordates from several segments, whereas in non-chordata the same segment had given rise to the limbs. Notochord, as I told you, present at some stage or replaced by backbone of ring-like vertebrae in the group Vertebrata. Notochord or backbone was altogether lacking in non-chordates. Gut position was ventral to nerve cord. Here you can see the gut position is ventral to nerve cord. Whereas in non-chordates we had seen it was dorsal to nerve cord, and the nervous system was laid altogether ventrally, whereas in chordates it is placed above the nerve cord, the gut. Pharyngeal gill slits are present in some or the other stage of life, but were absent in non-chordata, and we human beings also had pharyngeal gill slits when we were in our embryonic life. Anus opens before the last segment, whereas in non-chordates, anus usually opened on the last segment or was absent. The blood vascular system is largely closed in chordates, where it was of all kinds open, closed, or absent in non-chordates. The heart in chordates is ventrally placed, as you can place your hands where your heart beats, it is ventrally placed, whereas it was dorsal, as you had studied in Ferritima, if you had studied in your lower classes, or it may be lateral or hard, was altogether absent. In the dorsal blood vessels, the chordates have blood flowing posteriorly, whereas the blood flows anteriorly in dorsal blood vessels in non-chordates. Hepatic portal system was first showcased in chordata, whereas it was absent in non-chordata. Hemoglobin is now placed in RBCs, whereas in non-chordata it was present in plasma or was altogether absent. Respiration, chordates, they respire by gills or by lungs, whereas there was a diverse variety of forms of respiration through body surfaces, gills, trachees, and many more in non-chordates. Nervous system is hollow in chordates, whereas it was without any cavity or neurocele in the non-chordates. Brain, it is present dorsal to pharynx in head. In non-chordata, it was above pharynx or was absent. Nerve cord is single, dorsal and without ganglia, whereas if you had dissected ferritima in your lower classes, you might have seen, although it was not clearly visible, but they have double ventral nerve cord and usually bears ganglia, as in prawn, ferritima, and other non-chordates. The reproduction mode of reproduction in chordates is sexual reproduction, and it is predominant, whereas asexual reproduction was predominant in notochords. Regeneration power is usually very good in non-chordates, whereas it is poor in chordates. Only some parts are regenerated. Rest, if removed, cannot regenerate. Majorly, chordates are warm-blooded. As far as birds, mammals are concerned, they are warm-blooded, whereas the amphibians and fishes, they are cold-blooded, whereas all the non-chordates, they were cold-blooded. So these are some of the differences which we should have, which we should know regarding chordates and non-chordates. In the next lecture, we will study the characteristics of vertebrata. Till then, goodbye.